Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the bridge. Today we are doing a redo of season 1, episode 5, and this is about making styles. But first, Sandy, you got a quote for us?
Yes, I do. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. You have to know who you are as a person and not base it on what other people think you are.
Well, that's a good one. Sometimes that's hard to do, but we're going to now because we're going to talk about decision making styles. So let me move the slides along. These are decision making styles. Can be team or for staff members. But the important thing to remember is who is the sponsor, and the sponsor will tell you what style you're going to use. So there are, I want to say there's 6 or 7 of them. We're going to start at the top. Sandy, do you want to say anything about decision-making styles before we jump into the different?
Yes, I would like to say that this can work in family dynamics also, or any community that you are building. This can be a part of the tools that you use. My daughter and her husband have had what they call family meetings and talking about what's coming forward and that kind of thing. And this would work for someone who's just sitting down and gabbing with their kids and saying, okay, I want your input, but Dad and I are going to make the final decision, or we will do a vote and see. It depends on what the issue is, but I think it's a dynamic or a tool that can be used in any situation, actually.
Absolutely. And I remember being in staff meetings where the leader would say, we're going to make a decision. And that's all they said. So I thought I was going to be part of making the decision.
Right.
And they didn't give me clarity on what style we were going to use. So it was very confusing. So the number one is information only. This decision was made for either by our direct sponsor or for those in other sponsor roles. So it kind of came down from above. We as a group have no influence over this decision, and a minimal amount of time may be spent processing the decision. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to give an FYI about what my boss said, kind of a mandate about what we need to do. And I may give the group a few minutes to discuss it and talk about the ramifications, but they don't really have to give any input because they don't have any choice in the matter. So that's number one.
I would say,
Number two
I would
is,
say on that one too,
Yep, go ahead.
that one is for your information only. It gives you opportunity for people to ask questions for clarity, because you talk a lot about clarity. So even though the higher ups or the sponsor may be making the decisions, by giving them a chance to come together, it's a great opportunity to have a conversation and ask questions at that point and get the clarity you want.
Right. And how that might, what are some things that are going to impact what your division or whatever. I like to give people a little processing time, but not much time because they don't have any input.
Right.
Okay, number two is the sponsor decides with some input. So the sponsor has almost decided, but they want to limit the input from the team. So spend 10 minutes or so soliciting opinions from the team because of their limited influence. So I've sort of decided we're going to do this, but I'm going to take some input now. What are you guys thinking about this? But we're not going to take a whole lot of time because I really kind of have come to the conclusion and I'm making the decision. Any comments about that, Sandy?
No, again, that's a lot like the first one, except for just getting a chance for people to be able to get some clarity.
Yeah. So you're not wasting their time or, anybody's time. The third one is the sponsor decides with lots of input. So I'm going to give you some ideas about what I'm thinking, but I haven't made the decision yet. The sponsor wants a quality input from the team before making the decision. So I would spend 10 or 15 minutes in the group clarifying with the sponsor what he or she wants the successful outcome to look like, what, the goal process, or what do you want it to look like? And if time, allow team members to take it back to their constituents and get some feedback from wherever they work. And then they're going to come back, and then the sponsor's still making the decision, but they want lots of input. So it may take, a couple of meetings, it may take even a month, but the sponsor's deciding, but they're taking lots of input.
Right. When I was
Sandy,
when I was working,
okay.
one of the things that we used to do at the Early Learning Center, where I was the coordinator, we had set up, and this was directly part of what you had taught us when you were mentoring us, Sue, is that we actually had committees that would have people representing all the different areas, like the family support specialists and the assistant teachers and the lead teachers, and people would be assigned to a team. And we would have a framework that there was requirements like Washington Administrative Code or things that Head Start or ECAP, the programs that we were doing in our Early Learning Center. There was things that you had to follow, but within that realm, you still could make it your building's process of how it was going to look. And we did a lot of that where, this is us talking about how we're going to meet the requirements of the program, but how can we do it in a way that's going to work for everybody? And it was a great think tank. We got some good creative problem solving done, critical thinking done within that framework. And it was a great way to go to get everybody involved. And then you would know who was going to represent. So if you had something you wanted to share, if somebody in the building had someone that they wanted to share it with to have it come forward in the committee, they could do that. So it was a way to get the voice of the people that we were working with.
And it's helpful for the sponsor to know some of those details of the impact that this decision might make, so they can make a good decision. But it's important to remember the sponsor is making the decision. That's the one thing. Okay, let's see if we can get to the next page. All right. The next one is voting. The sponsor and the team have equal voice and vote in the decision. So everybody has one vote. Spend time laying out the possibilities in the outcome so everyone is clear about what the choices are and the ramification. Again, talk about goals and the timelines. But once you vote, that's it. The sponsor doesn't get to come in and override the vote because everybody has one vote. It's used sometimes. It's not used a lot in where my environment was, but sometimes it's appropriate. Any comments, Sandy, about voting?
I don't think we used it a lot in our field of expertise either. There was votes that happened with parent. We had like a parent team that came in and were representative, and a lot of that was voting for that. They would vote for different things that they were working on. But no, ordinarily within the scope of our trainings and that kind of thing, we didn't use the vote system.
Okay. Sometimes, like, you'll vote a representative in or somebody, a person that needs to be in a position. Okay, the next one is consensus. This is the group comes to consensus, meaning all agree to live and comply with what's decided. Personally, consensus is my least favorite style. It takes a lot of time and high skill in group processing. It should only be used if you have time and the level of influence is necessary for the decision to be effective. So, depending on how often the group meets, it could take 3 or 4 months. Sometimes curriculum adoption, is might be a good one to use because you do want to take some time. But, it's pretty nebulous if it's fist to five and one person keeps saying no. You've got to keep working until you have a consensus, and sometimes it takes a long time. Did you ever use consensus, Sandy?
I don't believe that we did much because, again, there was some ground rules that had to be adhered to on conversations and decisions that were made in the building. And so, yeah, sometimes you just, because it's hard to get everybody on the same page. It just is. There's always someone that has a pushback, does pushback on it. So yeah, that's pretty hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't think it's used that much, but it is a process if you want to use it.
Right.
And the last one is delegate. That means you delegate a committee or a person to make the decision. The sponsor delegates the decision to another group or team. The sponsor needs to be very clear about the expectations and the successful outcome. Because if you delegate it to somebody or a team, sponsor does not get to come back and veto it later.
No.
So you've got to trust the people you're putting it in their hands to do it, because you really ruin all your trust if you back out from letting them have their way after you've delegated it.
Absolutely.
Did you ever use delegation, Sandy?
Yes, to a certain degree, yeah, we did. I'd like to give ownership to people as much as possible. But again, you have to know your people, your audience, and know that they have good understanding of what the situation or the issue is. But I tell you what, if as a sponsor you override something that's done, it's like digging a ditch and filling it back up again. And people will not want to be, when you ask them to do something later down the road, they're not going to want to be a part of it because they didn't feel like they were respected for the work that they put into it.
That's right. Absolutely. It really is detrimental. There's no trust once you back out from something like that. Okay, so what I've done next is I've put, let's see if this slide will come up here. Come on, honey. Oh, I just put down 3 of the roles from the role and goal sheet, because the sponsor, the implementer, and the peer. So the sponsor is the person who's going to tell you how the decision is going to be made. I like to have people put this decision-making styles on their agenda so that when the sponsor is talking about making decisions, the people in the team can say, okay, sponsor, how are we making this decision? So then I know how much time and effort I'm going to put into it as a team member. So that's it. The sponsor is your boss. And that's really kind of all I wanted to say about that. The implementer is the person in the team. And you want to know as an implementer how this decision is going to be made. And then a peer, that's going to be somebody else in the team, and they need to know the same thing that the implementer knows. So I just wanted to bring about clarity about using this, and it is a very good tool to use when you put it on your agenda. Because if the sponsor forgets to tell you how the decision is going to be made, the implementers need to raise their hand and say, hey, how are we making this decision, for clarity? And then it's a very effective tool. So good tool to use for decision making, both in corporate environments, school environments, family environments. Who's making the decision so that I don't put a lot of time and effort into something that I have no influence over. Right. So, Sandy, a takeaway.
It is an important basic to go forward if you're trying to not waste people's time. One of the things about staff meetings or family meetings or whatever is that a lot of times, if you don't have something clearly defined, you can go around that mountain many, many times, and it ends up being frustrating to the people that are there because they want their time to be valued. And so I think it helps to get to the meat of the issues right then and there if you can have an outline like this.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a horror story that happened to me. Um, I was a team member at a school that was choosing library curriculum, and the sponsor came in and told us at the beginning of the year, I want this team to decide what curriculum we're going to adopt for next year. And that's all we heard. And the librarian was there, and so she was kind of the person that facilitated the meetings during the year. We spent time, we brought people in to share. We did lots and lots of research. I mean, I think we spent at least an hour every 2 weeks at this meeting. And so April came, and the librarian was getting ready to go and present to the board what our choice was. And the sponsor came in and said, "Oh, forget it. You don't have to worry about it. The board, we already decided."
Oh, ouch.
And I'll tell you
Ouch.
what,
Ooh, not good.
none of us ever volunteered for another meeting because he vetoed it. And we wasted all that time, all that effort, and it was a slap in the face. It really wasn't a good thing. So you have to be careful, and you have to decide ahead of time, sponsors, how and who are going to make the decision.
Right.
Okay. So that's all for this episode. We hope you're enjoying us redoing these, and we'll be back again soon with another module that we're going to redo, turn from the audio into a video. So thank you, Sandy. We'll talk to you
Thank
later.
you very much. Thank you for joining us, everybody.